After the break, after lunch, I'm going to talk more about connection of things. But right now, I don't know, maybe I will this section, I don't know anymore. But never really goes. I'm really okay with things don't happening the way they think they're gonna. But some of the things that happened to me in Panama was that being alone there. It really helped me. It really helped me. Like helped me on my path and everything. And when I went there, I really wanted to do a ceremony called it's either Iboga or it's Iboga. It never worked out for me to do it. Never. Like no matter what I tried, I just right away I just quit. I realized that I have to quit trying to make anything happen. And we had a thing where everybody got to present what they do. The native people where you went up on stage and present what it is that you're going to be doing. And the only thing that really caught my listening, that really intrigued me, was that this doctor from England had talked about a ceremony called Kambo. You guys ever hear of Kambo? Kambo is a poisonous green frog in the Amazon, and they take the poison off from it, and they burn a little hole in you and put it in that hole. And it's pretty amazing. I mean, it sounds rougher than it is, but I was able to do it. And today is the first day I feel good in a week. That's what I can say about Kambo. But it's like this. You just give. It's done with an incense. And the scabs the two missing pieces are the scab that fell off. But what it is that it stopped itching. And but they take like an incense, the round incense, and she just touches you. So you don't feel like you're burnt, but it does feel like you were burnt after you're done, And what she says is she's just trying to take off the epidermis, that by sample. And what it does is that before she does it, she even disinfects it. I guess in the jungle they don't, but she does. And she wipes it off, and what she wants to see is that clear liquid that comes out. And then they put that frog juice in there. Hey, baby. And she just, it cleans your lymph system and your nervous system and gets it charged up. And she said it originally, she was doing it in a practice, and it was a thing that helped her in her practice somehow. I couldn't hear everything she was saying, but it definitely caught my listening. And to this day, what she's doing now is that she quit working as a doctor in England and is traveling around the world looking for a place to practice. It would be more like holistic medicine. And that's what she's on the process of doing now. And there was no way that I was getting into this ceremony, and because of the way people had to sign up for it. So I just gave up on that one too. And the only thing I didn't want to do was peyote. And I didn't remember why. When I was around 17, 16, 17, 18, 19, around in that age, I had did it twice. And I didn't remember it. I didn't remember why, but I knew I didn't want to do it. And when I got there and I ended up in it with that 99-year-old man, and when I put, There's 4 ways of taking peyote. If you're getting it fresh, you know, it's pretty strong. I've never had it fresh right out, but I heard it's pretty strong. And then there's a stage right below fresh, that where it's like you still got the button, but it's closing up. It's a little drier. And then you get one where it's powdered, and it looks like cornmeal. Because she actually had cornmeal in a bag, and she had it in the same cornmeal bags. And it looked that way she'd get through the border with it. And I told my friend, it might be caught a little bit with the cornmeal. We might be just chewing on cornmeal. I said, you might be faking us out here. It has I've never liked the taste of it. Like, it actually makes me feel like I want to throw up just with it in my mouth. It's not just bitter, it's strong. What did I say? Buttons, right after that when it's drying, and then at the dust, and then you have mush. If there's mush, you can take, you know, like, depending on how you know these people, but usually when you get to the mush stage of things, it's usually a lot weaker, so if you ever do it, don't be afraid to take a lot of that one. One guy wanted his money back from that ceremony that did it mush, and I did it dry and the mush one. The only ceremony I didn't want to do is the one I ended up doing. And as soon as I took it, I remembered why I didn't like it. One was the taste, and the other one, how sick I got. When I did it when I was young, I didn't stay in it long enough to see what really happened. I could never tell anybody what really happened, because back then when I did it, I was partly drunk, and when my belly got sick, I just drank more. So I didn't know if I was all out because of the peyote or because I drank too much beer. It's not something to be mixed with beer, by the way. What was really funny is the 100-year-old man that did it, he had 2 cans of beer with him. He didn't take no peyote, but he was using the beer as a washer, I guess. I thought it was awesome. But he drank 2 cans over the course of the night. But I heard, can look like Budweiser, but it said beer, I think. I don't know, I wouldn't say I was in the dark a little bit, but that's what it looked like to me. But it was a beautiful ceremony, and they were so good they didn't even know how good they were. You know, when somebody just does something so well, they don't even know they're that good. Like, and it's just a regular thing for him. And it was that good, and it was amazing. And the one thing that peyote does is that, like, be careful with it if you ever do it. It's really powerful stuff. It's a lot more milder of a substance. For those of you who don't like to do what you would call drugs, this is not really a drug. These things aren't addictive things. And like ayahuasca, I don't know why we want to be addicted to that stuff. Holy cow, is that ever? But anyways, what it did to me, is that the things that I was thinking about that I didn't know I was thinking about came into my thought and start running together. It was almost like running a thing that was, like I just didn't know I was really thinking of those things. And part of it was that aloneness that I was feeling there. And it started coming together. And it will make sense out of it. Because everything you got is there. All the memories you need are there. We just had never accessed them. We don't practice them. There's a thing that happens to us where they say, I don't know the exact numbers on this, so bear with me. Like, we have like over 1 trillion bits of memory, more advanced than any computer ever created. But we're only able to access a couple thousand things in any given moment. And that's with what our perception is and our thought pattern does. There was a thing on the internet that I thought was pretty neat about perception. And it was about, did you guys hear about that guy, that very famous violinist playing in the subway? There's a real famous, right, in Boston. And he had just sold out a place where they sold a seat for $100, average $100 a seat, and he just sold out whatever, their Philharmonic or whatever, he sold it out. And one morning he was playing in the subway station down in the bottom with his case open, playing, made $22, something like that. Nobody stayed and watched. And he was playing with they said his violin was worth like $3.5 million. He just sold out a place, and he played the hardest piece that you can possibly play on a violin. And the closest thing was a 3-year-old person stopped to watch him for just a little bit. Everything is always there all the time. But we're just gathering into 2,000 bits of information that we're familiar with. And it's usually helplessness. Because this is the law of reflection. Everybody heard of the law of reflection? If you haven't, it's that everything that you see is a reflection of yourself. That's what the law of reflection really comes down to. What goes around, come around. There's all kinds of things that are variations of it. Karma, whatever. There's a thing that it has a way of coming back to you and all that. It's just the way, whatever we see in the world, that's the way we see ourselves. On the basic scale, though, on the very bottom thing of this, is a mirror. It's the best for what I'm talking about. Is to look into a mirror, you see a reflection. Well, after all of these ceremonies, this is the way I see the whole world now. The whole world is like this to me. It feels like I'm in a video game, even right now. I feel like I'm in a video game, like I'm playing this video game, and it's fun. It really is fun. Like to be able to step back like so fast, and to be able to realize that, hey, this is going on. This is me going on. Because the one thing you can't see is you. Right? That's why it's so easy to see other people's problems. It's like standing on a mountain. You can see all their bullshit, but you can't see your own. Same thing on a mountain, right? You can't see your own mountain when you're standing on it. But you can see other people's. Sorry, right? Like relationships. They said it's usually just the same person with a different face when you get a different one. All right, sound familiar? Relationships are a lot. It will have to do with the way you think and feel. That's what will get reflected back. The basic thing of this is that, and be honest with yourself. You remember, you got to know where you're at before you can go anywhere. And if you're lying to yourself, that's where you're at. Better accept it, because that's where you're starting at. When you look into a mirror, what are you looking for? Something that's wrong. He's got a lot of room to fly. If we can get him, we'll stop and get him.
Not gonna burn up in the wood stove.
His name is Jeremy, by the way. He lives here too.
You were saying you look for something.
I was like, man, I never got that reaction for tonight. But the one thing we look for in the mirror is something wrong. However we look into that mirror is how we look into the mirror that we're walking into. And this is the mirror. And we constantly keep looking for something wrong. If we're looking for something wrong in the mirror, we're doing that in life. For sure. And it is. It's what people look for in the mirror. And when we keep walking through life, we keep trying to fix things and get them in perspective and all that kind of stuff. Get them into our... And that's what happens with our perspective in life. We keep looking for something that's wrong. We miss the great things, like a violinist playing in the subway. And there's so many ways we lose perspective. Another one is being competitive. You'll lose perspective. People are competitive at all kinds of shit too. Even when we walk. Somebody's trying to lead or stay or whatever. Even when we walk, there's some kind of competition going on. Or see who can see the best thing or whatever. There's some kind of competition. Once you go into competition, the perspective closes. We're concentrating on what we're competing on. It's really great when you're playing a sport. It's a really great gift to have. But if you're just walking through life, we'll lose perspective. Any thoughts?
How is life different than a sport?
What's that?
How is it different in a sport than life? With competitiveness.
Well, in a sport, you don't want to be looking around at the audience. If you're playing the sport, you want a little bit more focus when you're doing that.
Oh.
In life, if you open it up to it, you can still have that same kind of focus. There isn't a whole lot of difference here, Mark, is what I'm saying. But the way we're living now is that we lose that perspective when we're competing. When you're not competing with life, it's really great to focus too. But it's not a competition anymore. But when you're in a competition, one of the things that I don't know, what might happen is there might not be competitive sports when people start getting real connected. I don't know. We haven't reached that far yet. But right now, if you're playing a sport and you're looking at the audience, it's pretty hard to play the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there is a wanting to be better than in sports.
There's a want of more. More and better and all that. That's just in life. Competition helps us bring that out in ourselves. It helps us to learn about ourselves too. Whatever. One thing I want people to know is that everything you're doing right now is the best. Don't get caught up in the judgments of this shit. Everything we're doing is the starting point. If you hadn't got it yet, but everything that we are, our life is exactly the way we want it to be. Exactly. If it isn't, you'd be lying, because if you wanted it another way, it would be. I did this to my father, and he was complaining. I mean, there's a whole story to it, but he asked me, what do I think? He was complaining about my sister. And I said, Dad, you know, he asked me what I thought about his complaint. And he had a valid one for most people. But he asked me what I thought, and I said, Dad, you just like to complain. That's why she's doing that. If you see this like a video game, that's what it will start showing you. This is what it is, that's what it is. And I said, you just like to complain. And he goes, no, I don't. I said, let's define this, Dad. If you do it, you like it. If you do it, you like it. Because if you really didn't like it, you really wouldn't do it. And he goes, well, under that definition, I guess I like it, but I don't. But I said, if you do it, you like it. And that's kind of what we do with our life, is there's things that we're trying not to experience. Like we're trying to fix that helplessness, that aloneness, all those things. We're trying to be safe and wanted. Right? It's really the two things that we're after. Safe and wanted. It's really what we're after. I mean, you know, in this physical world. Any other comments? It's really good if we can get into a discussion about this. A lot of reflection, anything, yeah. Anything we've talked about.
What if being wanted makes you scared, afraid?
What it is when did everybody hear that? What if being wanted makes you scared, right? You have ways of getting attention, right?
Yes.
Because listen to when somebody's talking really. Remember, you can only talk from memory. You can't talk about anything else but yourself. So when like when you're calling somebody an asshole, you're really calling yourself an asshole. Like, and it's real clear for me. When he says that, who's he talking about? Him. Okay, now under all of this, what's your role? Remember your question. What?
Our role as the person that heard what he said.
Yeah, all right, we're all in this room, right? We all heard this.
Well, we're a reflection of it.
What?
We're a reflection of that.
Okay, we're a reflection of that.
How am I afraid of being wanted?
How am I afraid of being wanted?
What in me is, well, the whole
Okay.
way would be what in me is great.
What I'm telling you is, however you interpret that, that's your part in it. That's the story you're telling yourself. And you could judge that in many different ways. I got to stay here.
Yep, exactly. When you're done.
What?
When you're done, let me know. Need to wrap it up.
So say that again. What if you're afraid of being wanted? Is what you said. All right. Did you get caught up in the other thing a little bit?
I have a couple of stories.
Okay. Now what that means is that we did too. No matter what goes on, it's our memory too. That's why I said you'll start seeing this like a video game. Like you're watching this thing happen and you know it's you. That is my story too. Right? When Donald Trump gets up and talks, what is it that you'll say now?
He's dumb. It's my story.
That's me talking.
That's me talking.
He tweeted he might show up later to debate. Epic rap battle.
That's in my memory too. Remember this thing remember the last thing we talked about when I was in here, for those who are here? We are all things. Everybody usually agree with that, right? We are Donald Trump too. Because I said in the end, we are all God. We are all things. That story is my story too. I am all things. Including that. Including Donald Trump. Including whatever you want to call it.